Today's guest on Erisat is disability rights activist Haben Girma. Haben Girma was born in 1988 to Eritrean parents, her father Girma Kidana Adgoy and her mother Saba Gebreyesus in Oakland, California. Haben's father was born and raised in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia before migrating to the United States, while her mother was born and raised in Asmara, Eritrea. Like many Eritrean immigrants, Saba left Eritrea in 1983 through Sudan and came to California where she met Girma. Being deaf-blind, her double challenge did not stop Haben from great achievements and recognition, making her a very influential young person. Haben completed high school and college studies and went to be the first deaf-blind student to attend and graduate from Harvard Law School. She earned her Doctor of Law degree in 2013. Haben is a disability rights lawyer. She advocates for equal opportunities for people with disabilities and to change the attitude around disability and accessibility that helps to create lasting and positive change among people and communities. Haben believes disability is an opportunity for creativity. In 2019, Haben wrote a memoir titled Haben, the Deaf-Blind Woman Who Conquered Harvard Law. Some of the stories she shared in her book include her visit to her parents' hometowns, the volunteer work she did under Sahara Desert sun in Mali, her experience climbing an iceberg in Alaska, and her meeting with former President Barack Obama in the White House. Haben loves to exercise. Rock climbing, surfing, skiing, bike riding, and dancing are some of the activities she enjoys. Haben was recognized by her work by American presidents Barack Obama and Bill Clinton. She has received accolades and recognition from leaders around the world. In addition, Haben received several awards in recognition of her work. To mention a few, in 2013, President Obama named her a White House Champion of Change. In 2016, the Pacific Standard named her one of the top 30 thinkers under 30. In 2017, she was listed as one of the top 100 most influential Africans by New African magazine. We have this exemplary young woman as our guest today to share her experience with us. Hello, dear viewers. Welcome to our special interview session today in English. Today, our guest is Miss Haben Girma. Haben Girma is an Eritrean American who was born and raised in the United States. She's a disability justice lawyer. She's an author and she's a speaker. Haben is the first deaf-blind person to graduate from Harvard Law School. President Obama named her a White House Champion of Change. She received many different awards, including the Helen Keller Achievement Award. President Bill Clinton, Minister Justin Trudeau, and Chancellor Angela Merkel have all honored Haben. Welcome to Erisat, Haben. We're very honored to have you with us tonight.
Thank you for having me. You will notice there will be a delay between when you speak and when I respond, and that's because the communication is coming through. I'm using a small device with Braille along the bottom, and as you speak, a typist is typing what you're saying. I'm reading it in Braille and then responding by voice. So that's the delay. Just relax and enjoy your coffee. Your answers will come through.
That's totally normal. That's okay. That's fine. To get started, when and how did you lose your sight and hearing? And how can you speak? How did you learn to?
I was born this way. We're all different. And it shows how amazing this universe is, that there are so many different ways of being human. So this is my experience of being human. And I just adapt. I learned Braille. I had excellent teachers. How do I speak? I speak at a high register, a high frequency voice. And there are a lot of communities that dismiss my voice for being feminine. And that's not right. We need to create spaces where all voices are valued, whether it's a high frequency voice or low register voice, whether one has an accent, whether one signs or uses computers to communicate. We need to create spaces where all voices are valued. And this is my voice.
That's great. And let's go back to your childhood. How was it? And what was the role of your parents when raising you and your older brother, who is also deafblind? And how challenging was it for them as immigrant family in the US?
So first of all, a lot of people know I have a deafblind brother, but it almost makes it sound like I don't have a sister. I have a sister, and she's often forgotten because she's not deafblind, and that's not fair. So we're 4 siblings in total, 1 younger sister, 2 older brothers. My brother Mose and I are the only ones in the family who are deafblind. In the San Francisco Bay Area, we had schools that were inclusive. Disabled students could learn alongside non-disabled students. So I didn't go to a special school for blind kids. I went to a mainstream school with sighted kids, blind kids, kids with all different abilities and disabilities. And the school made sure the teachers took responsibility so that all students had access to the program. If some students needed Braille, the school provided Braille. If some students needed to learn to travel with a cane, they provided cane lessons. So that was the kind of environment I grew up in.
Okay, that's great to know you have a sister. When you went to school, did you make friends? And did people find it difficult to interact with you or to adapt with your situation?
Oh, I'm sure some people found it difficult to connect with me. That's their problem. That's not my problem. A lot of people are afraid of those who are different. That fear is problematic. Don't be afraid of people who are different. Take the time to understand and learn and connect.
Okay. And tell us about the technologies and accessibilities you use or you had access to when you went to school. And how important is it in simplifying your way throughout your academic journey?
Technology is helpful, but that in itself is not enough. The main thing is having people who believe in you. If they don't know how a disabled person would do something, they take the time to ask and investigate and find out until they come up with solutions. So resisting ableism is the main thing. What has been your experience, Leila, with disability in the Eritrean community?
My experience, we have a culture which is very oppressing, and mostly if a family has a child with disability, they don't want to show them to people, and they don't want to provide them with necessity or with technology that can help them simplify their lives. So it's totally different from your case, I think.
And I wonder why the family would be reluctant to show their child in public. Where does that shame come from?
I really don't know. I think that's the tradition and culture we have. The way people see people with disabilities. I think we have a very low awareness when it comes to people with disability. What would you like to tell them, to those who have family members with disability?
So I think it's helpful to recognize that if you feel shame regarding disability, whether your own disability or someone near you with a disability, question that shame. Don't accept the shame, question it, ask, why do I feel shame? What are the stories and beliefs and traditions that are causing this shame? Because it's not serving us. It hurts our communities to live with that kind of shame. We need to discard it and instead accept that there are many different ways of being human. I'm human. My sight is terrible. My hearing is terrible, but I'm still human and I still deserve respect. Other people with disabilities deserve respect. That should be embraced with the Eritrean community rather than the long-standing shame.
Exactly. You also use a word ableism in your book and in your speeches frequently. What do you mean by that? What's ableism?
Ableism is connected to shame related to disability. Ableism is the idea that disabled people are inferior to non-disabled people, that our lives matter less compared to non-disabled people. If there are two people, one is disabled and one is non-disabled, and the employer prefers to hire the non-disabled person, or the teacher only teaches the non-disabled student, that is ableism. Leila, do you speak Tigrinya?
Yes. That's my mother tongue.
How would you explain? How would you explain ableism in the Tigrinya culture and language?
That's a bit difficult to translate right now, but I would explain it in a full sentence.
I think it would be powerful to come up with a word in Tigrinya for ableism. Maybe the word doesn't exist now, but advocates within Eritrea and outside Eritrea in the diaspora could create a word in Tigrinya.
Probably, yeah. We have to find an exact word for ableism in Tigrinya. That's my homework.
Yes, do that. It probably doesn't exist, but create one. Ableism in English did not exist for most of our history. Advocates created the word ableism. And similarly, such a word can be created in Tigrinya.
You have also a guide dog in your everyday life. How was he trained and how does he guide you?
I lead the guide dog. The guide dog doesn't know where I want to go. The guide dog can't read street signs or use GPS. So I need to have the training to know where I'm going and how to get there. The guide dog moves around obstacles. So if there's a garbage can in the middle of the sidewalk, the guide dog will go around the garbage can. Guide dogs are fantastic for areas where there's great infrastructure, sidewalks, crosswalks. In environments where that doesn't exist, it's a bit trickier. Not impossible, but trickier.
Okay, that's nice. You're the first deaf-blind person to attend Harvard and graduate from it, Harvard Law School. Why did you choose to study law in the first place? And how did you manage it through Harvard?
I made it through Harvard with lots of coffee. Do you believe in coffee?
Yeah. What's the story behind the coffee?
When I say coffee, I mean buna. So I drank a lot of coffee when I was in law school. You know, it helps you stay alert when you need to be up for many hours.
And I would like to know more about your hobbies and things that you like to do in your spare time. I know that you enjoy and like to dance, to surf, and you also like hiking. But tell me, how are you able to do all of this?
Oh, it's my sight and hearing that are limited. My ability to move around is not limited, so it doesn't impact my ability to dance and walk and all of that.
Okay, that's nice. As an advocate for disabled people's rights, who's responsible when it comes to inclusion of people with disability, and whose role do you think it is?
It's everyone's role. For the most part, disabled people carry the burden of making the world more accessible, and that's not fair. That needs to change. Non-disabled people need to pick up more of the work of making our world more accessible.
That's great.
Leila, what can you do to make our world more accessible?
I would love to share awareness to public, and the other thing is I would like to ask them what do they need from us. For example, what do you think we should do to make the world a better accessible place to all?
For a news station, couple things. One, captions. Captions help people who are deaf and hard of hearing access videos. It also helps people who have auditory processing disorder, invisible learning disabilities, and also people learning English. Captions make a huge difference. So that's one thing. And then also the people you bring onto the show. How many disabled people do you bring onto the show? Bring in more diversity.
So that's the simple things that we can do that make a big difference in people's lives. And people are discriminating by nature. And you have an immigrant background, you're a woman, you're a Black American, and you're a person with disability. How is it like to have all of these discriminating factors all together? How challenging is it for you?
You know, I'm reading stories about people in Tigray and Eritrea and refugees. So, United States struggles with racism and sexism and ableism. When those combine, it can be incredibly deadly in situations with law enforcement, because the vast majority of those killed by police are Black and brown disabled people in the United States. So there are significant problems here. But I'm speaking to you from my home where I have food and water and my immediate needs are met. So there are various levels of challenges.
I understand. But normally, people have hundreds of reasons to give up, and many quit at some point in their lives. But you didn't, Haben. Why didn't you give up? And what was your inner motivation that keeps you or to decide to go on?
You said hundreds of reasons, but I feel like I don't have any reason to give up. So many people have sent me positive comments saying, thank you for speaking up for Siham Ali, for refugees, for various people around the world. That's affirming and validating. I'm reminded that I'm making a difference. I'm helping people. Those are constant reminders that I'm giving value. So I'm not giving up anytime soon.
That's nice. When it comes to interacting with people with disabilities, many people don't understand the rules of engagement. So how do you think new people have to interact with you? What are the things people should do or don't when it comes to engagement or interacting with people with disability?
One rule, ask. Ask people what they need. Ask people how they are doing. Ask people how you can help.
I believe you drew a lot of strength and resilience from your parents' story as immigrants to the US. So, what's your advice to parents with children with disability? How can they help them to be independent?
ኣጎር ዴድ ሲ ማድማስክ ናይ ሙት ባሕሪ ጭቃ ማለት እዩ። ካብ ጭቃ ሙት ባሕሪ ሽያ ባተር፣ ዕረ፣ ሳንፍላወር፣ መዓር፣ ቫይታሚን ሲ፣ ሁሩድን ካልኦትን ተሰርሐ እዩ። ጭቃ ሙት ባሕሪ ካብ ናይ እስራኤል ሙት ባሕሪኡ ዝመጽእ ጥቕሙ ንዝዓጠረ ዝፋሕሸወ ዕንፍሩር ዘለዎ ዝተዓብሰ ቁርበት የገልግል። ወላ እውን ዝኾነ ፀገም ኣይሃለወና ክንጥቀመሉ ብጣዕሚ ኣገዳሲ። 3 ግዜ ኣብ ሰሙን ካብ 10 ክሳብ 15 ደቂቕ ክንገብሮ ይግባእ። ኣጎር ዴድ ሲ ማድማስ
I want more parents to learn with their disabled child. If your disabled child is learning sign language, learn with them. If your disabled child has a wheelchair and is learning to navigate the world through a wheelchair, learn with them, understand with them. So I know many Eritrean parents are still dealing with shame regarding disability. Discard that shame. It doesn't serve you.
That's good. And please tell me about your advocacy work outside the United States. I know you have traveled to different countries. Can you share some of your experience with us today?
There have been so many experiences. Which ones are you interested in?
You have traveled advocating for people with disability. So some of the very interesting ones that you have experienced that you want to share with us. Anything special you have observed or something that clicked your mind or something like that?
Well, disabled people exist all over the world. There are over 1 billion disabled people. That's a lot of people. It's part of the human experience, part of human diversity. And I've met with disabled people in India, in France, in Mexico. There are differences, but there are more similarities than differences.
And you used to travel to Eritrea when you were young. And what was your experience back there in your second home country? What do you remember? And how strong is your attachment with your second country?
I went to Eritrea as a child. In the first few chapters of my book, I describe my experiences in Eritrea as a child. So my experiences of Eritrea are very different from the experiences and perspectives of an adult. And I tried to go back to Eritrea when I was in college, so around 2008. And unfortunately, I was denied a visa. That was back before I'd gone to Harvard, back before I had any fame. And I think the policy is that if you want to go to Eritrea and you are of Eritrean heritage, then you have to get a national ID. That doesn't seem fair to me.
That's never fair. So do you have any plans to get connected with people with disability inside Eritrea or to help them in any way?
It's tricky to do when you can't go there and you don't have easy access to communication there.
As you mentioned previously, last month you were very busy and you were very active in the social media. And you said, "Never in my life have so many people attempted to crush my voice." What happened exactly? And why did people, including your family members, try to silence you?
It's part of disability shame. The idea that disabled people should stay hidden. So people feel disabled people should stay out of politics. And a lot of the messages I was receiving is, you are disabled. Stick to disability. Don't talk about politics. Ask yourself, what exactly is politics? Politics is decisions regarding human lives, regarding access to food and water, regarding education. That matters to all of us, and all of us should speak out on it.
That's a good message. And a few days ago, you called the US Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, to help on Siham Ali's case. What did you feel when you first learned about Siham Ali, an Eritrean American citizen who has been abducted by the Eritrean government for 8 years since she was 15? What was your reaction to this injustice as an American lawyer and human rights advocate?
It's incredibly unjust to punish a child for something her father did. That's not right. That's not fair. No child should go through that. No person should go through that. And because she was born in California, I'm very aware that I too am born in California and have Eritrean ancestry. So when I first learned about the story, it was absolutely disturbing and horrible. And I'm asking the United States to help release Siam and help free Siam.
That's not only Siham's case, but there are thousands of political, religious leaders and journalists and ordinary people in detention as we speak. In most cases, no one knows about their whereabouts. Do you have any plans to shed light on this to the world, as you did with Siham's case?
Locking people up is unjust, and it's incredibly frustrating to read these stories of so many people being locked up just for speaking or because of their religion. There are many religious prisoners as well. So it's a huge problem.
We're heading to the end of the session. I would like to give you a chance to point out things we all should do to create an inclusive environment to all. And I would like to give you a few minutes to share your advice with people with disabilities who are watching us right now.
A lot of the struggles disabled people face are because non-disabled people don't think about accessibility and create accessibility. Buildings that don't have ramps or elevators were designed by people who only think about non-disabled people rather than thinking about disability access. So we need more non-disabled people and disabled people to design with access in mind. If you are creating a new website, design it with accessibility. There's the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. For apps, there's Android and iOS accessibility guidelines. For new building, use accessibility guidelines to build an accessible facility. School programs should be fully accessible. It's everyone's responsibility.
That's great. Thank you, Haben, so much. That was a very insightful interview. I would like to thank you for your time and your information. That was such a pleasure to have you here with us. And I believe we will hear a lot more from you in your work of advocacy and human rights. And I hope to see you again on ERISAT.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your coffee.